The Story of Cinderella. Once there was a gentleman who took for his second wife the proudest and most disagreeable woman in the whole world. Now this lady had 2 daughters who were just like their mother in every respect, which made them the 2 proudest and most disagreeable young women in the whole world. The gentleman, on the other hand, had 1 daughter who had the sweetest and kindest nature. Of course, the stepmother couldn't stand this young girl, for because of her, her own daughters appeared more hateful than ever. Oh, before I forget, I must tell you that the 2 mean sisters were also very ugly.
Please don't say they're ugly. They can look quite pleasant when they smile.
If they smile. You see what I mean? Such a good nature had this child that she saw the best in everything.
My stepmother has told me that I must keep the house clean, do the ironing and the cooking. It's a lot of work, but I don't mind being busy all day.
We wouldn't want to get our hands rough and red. After all, we are great ladies.
But our little stepsister doesn't seem to mind the dirt and the ashes one bit.
In fact, we have named her Cinderella because she's always covered with ashes from head to foot. I'll call her now. Cinderella! Cinderella!
Yes, sisters?
Bring me a glass of water and my fan and be quick about it.
Yes, sister.
And so it seemed to go. Cinderella's life was nothing but hard work, yet she always kept her sweet smile. One day it was announced that the prince of the land was to have a ball to which he invited all the fine families. What excitement when the stepsisters heard the news.
A ball at the palace! Oh, I can't wait to go! Now, what will I wear?
I know. I will look ravishing in my blue brocade with the ostrich feathers.
Not more beautiful than I shall look in my red velvet with the fur trim and my diamond tiara with my genuine pearl choker.
Do you think I could go to the ball?
You? Why, that's the silliest thing I ever heard. Look at yourself. You're nothing but a bundle of rags and cinders.
If you ever walked into the palace, they'd give you a broom and send you into the kitchen where you belong.
And so Cinderella tried to put thoughts of going to the ball out of her mind. Another girl might have been angry with her sisters, but not Cinderella. She even offered to help them prepare their clothes and to fix their hair for the ball. And since she had the very best of taste, they were very happy to hear her opinion.
Cinderella, what do you think of this gold necklace? Or maybe the ruby earrings?
Cinderella, do I need another petticoat under this dress?
And to all questions, she answered with the best possible suggestions. How many laces they broke trying to appear slimmer, I dare not guess.
Tighter, Cinderella, tighter! I want my waist to be smaller than that.
At last the big day arrived, and with much rushing and excitement, the sisters left for the ball.
Goodbye. Goodbye. Have a good time.
As soon as she was left alone, Cinderella sat down and began to cry. She really didn't want to cry, but she just couldn't help it. Suddenly, a beautiful lady appeared before her.
I'm your fairy godmother, Cinderella, and I know why you're crying.
You couldn't know.
But I do. You want to go to the ball, don't you?
Oh, yes, fairy godmother, I do. But look at me. My stepsisters are right. Everyone would laugh to see a Cinderella at the ball.
You forget one thing, my child. I'm very good at solving such problems. Now go at once and get me the largest pumpkin you can find.
A pumpkin? Fairy godmother, what good would a pumpkin do?
Don't ask silly questions, Cinderella. Just do as I say.
A quick trip out to the garden and...
Here it is. The biggest one I could find, godmother.
Good. Now just scoop it out, and I shall touch it with my magic wand.
Why, you've turned it into a beautiful golden coach. Oh, fairy godmother.
Don't just stand there staring, child. Run and get me some mice. I think the mousetrap would be a good place to look.
You're right, godmother. There are 6 of them in here.
Fine. You shall let them out one by one, And as they go, I shall tap each one with my wand and...
6 beautiful white horses to pull the coach.
Now, who shall we use to drive the coach?
I thought I saw a big rat in the rat trap. We could make a coachman out of him.
Quite right. You go and see.
Cinderella brought the rat trap with 3 big rats, and the fairy godmother chose one who had very elegant whiskers and turned him into a fat coachman with one of the finest mustaches ever to be seen.
Now go in the garden and fetch me 6 lizards.
As soon as Cinderella brought the lizards, they were turned into 6 footmen in splendid uniforms.
Oh, fairy godmother, what a marvelous carriage with coachman and footmen. But look at me. How can I go to the ball in these rags?
Why, that's the easiest trick of all.
And with a final wave of her wand, the fairy godmother changed Cinderella's rags into the most beautiful gown of gold and silver, and placed a pair of glass slippers on her feet.
Now, dear Cinderella, go to the ball, but don't forget one thing. You must not stay past midnight, for at the stroke of 12 the coach will change back into a pumpkin, the horses into mice, the driver into a rat, and the footman back to lizards, and your clothes, of course, back to the ones you had before. Remember my words, Cinderella.
I won't forget, I won't forget. Oh, and fairy godmother, thank you.
When Cinderella arrived at the palace, what a stir she made. All heads turned. No one knew who she was, but all were sure she was indeed a princess. Her clothes and hair and beautiful face were more dazzling than anyone had ever seen. The prince stopped what he was doing and couldn't take his eyes off her.
Footman, who is that beautiful young lady? I must know.
No one knows who she is, Your Majesty. She arrived just a moment ago in a magnificent carriage.
I must speak to her. I must dance with her.
All through the evening, the prince hardly left Cinderella's side. If anyone else asked her to dance, he would say,
Sorry, the young lady is my partner for this evening.
Even the king couldn't help remarking to the queen,
It's been many a long year since I've seen a young girl as beautiful and charming as that one.
As for the stepsisters,
Just what we needed here tonight. A perfectly gorgeous creature to captivate the prince.
He hasn't looked at any of us since she arrived.
I wonder who she is.
Nobody seems to know, but I wish she'd just go away. Maybe then we'd stand a chance with the prince.
I could almost dislike that girl. She didn't seem so nice. She offered me part of her orange.
And she smiled at me. I wonder who she could be.
and thus the evening passed. Before Cinderella knew it, it was 11:45.
Oh, I must be going. It's getting so late.
And as suddenly as she had arrived, the mysterious princess left the ball and rushed to her carriage.
She's gone. My beautiful princess. I must see her again.
Meanwhile, Cinderella arrived home just as her beautiful dress turned back into rags. But she didn't feel one bit sad.
This has been the most wonderful night of my life. Oh, thank you, Fairy Godmother, wherever you are. Thank you.
No sooner had Cinderella finished speaking than she heard a knock at the door. The sisters had arrived home.
I must go and let them in. I shall pretend that I have been sleeping, though in truth I have never felt more awake in my life. Oh, it's you, dear sisters. Oh, come in and tell me, how is the ball?
If you'd been at the ball, you would not be feeling sleepy. Oh, it was the most exciting evening.
The mysterious princess came. Everyone said she was the prettiest princess they had ever seen. The prince danced with no one but her all evening.
She did offer me part of her orange.
She did smile at me.
Oh, how exciting. What was her name?
That's just it. Nobody knows her name.
The prince is so taken with her that he's giving another ball tomorrow night just to see her again.
Oh, how I wish that I could go. If one of you could lend me a dress.
Oh, that's the silliest thing I ever heard.
Me lend my dress to a Cinderella like you. Ridiculous.
Cinderella had expected this refusal. She smiled deep down inside, for the last thing she wanted was to wear one of her sister's dresses. In fact, she could hardly wait for the next night. When she finally fell asleep, all she could dream of was being at the ball once again. The next day was the busiest Cinderella could remember. In addition to cooking and cleaning, her sisters did not give her a moment's peace with their demands.
Cinderella, come here this instant and iron my dress.
Cinderella, I thought I asked you to fix the ruffle of my petticoat.
Aren't you ever going to come here and fix my hair?
You'd better fix these feathers or I'll lose my temper.
Sisters, please. I'll see to everything if you'll just be patient. You two will look just perfect by the time you leave, or my name is not Cinderella.
And, true to her word, Cinderella did everything she could to make her sisters happy. Finally, they left. She stood at the door and waved.
Goodbye. Have a good time.
No sooner had she closed the door when the fairy godmother appeared. Quick as can be, she performed her special magic, and Cinderella, the dirty, tired little maid, was dressed in a gown more dazzling than the one the night before. The coach, the horses, the driver, the footmen, all were ready to carry her to the palace. But not before the fairy godmother spoke once again.
Remember what I say, Cinderella. You must return home by the stroke of midnight. Remember my words.
I will. Good night, fairy godmother, and thank you.
When Cinderella arrived at the palace, a hush fell over the entire room.
It's the beautiful princess again.
Has anyone found out who she is?
The prince rushed to her side at once, and for the rest of the evening danced with no one but Cinderella. It was obvious to everyone that the prince had fallen in love with this mysterious princess. Even the old king was heard to remark to the queen,
My dear, it looks like our son has finally found the girl of his dreams. And I can't say as I blame him.
The evening flew by. As the clock began to strike midnight, Cinderella was taken by surprise.
Midnight. Oh, I must go.
And before the prince could say a word, she rushed from the ballroom and disappeared into the night.
Wait! Stop! Don't go! Footman! The beautiful princess, which way did she go?
Princess, sire, we saw no princess. Just a dirty kitchen maid a moment ago.
Oh, I must find her, I must!
As he spoke, the prince noticed something glittering on the palace steps.
Why, it's her slipper. The little glass slipper from her sweet foot. This is my only clue. My only hope of finding the girl I wish to marry. Footman!
Yes, sire.
Issue a proclamation. A search is to be made throughout the land for the young lady whose foot will fit this glass slipper. All unmarried ladies in the land will have a chance to try it on. And when the one is found whose foot fits the slipper, she shall marry the prince and become princess of the land.
And so the search was on. Early the next morning, the prince's footmen went off on their search for the lady of the slipper. They searched and searched, for there were so many young ladies who hoped to marry a prince. There were duchesses and countesses and ladies of the court. There were rich and poor ones, tall and small ones, fat and thin ones, each pushed and twisted, but try as they might, none fit the tiny glass slipper. At last the day came when the footmen arrived at the home of the two stepsisters.
Come in. Oh, I can't wait to try on the slipper.
I just know that my foot will fit it perfectly.
Me first.
I'm sorry, ma'am. It doesn't even get on your foot.
Let me.
Sorry, ma'am. It doesn't seem to get past your big toe.
May I try it on?
Oh, don't pay any attention to her. She's just a slender girl.
My instructions were to try the slipper on every young lady in the land, so she might as well have a chance.
Cinderella sat down, and before the eyes of her amazed stepsisters, the footman slipped the little glass slipper onto her foot as if it had been made for her, as indeed it had. As if she were not the least bit surprised, Cinderella pulled the other glass slipper out of her apron pocket where she had hidden it since the night of the ball. Just at that moment, the fairy godmother appeared, and with the wave of her wand, changed Cinderella's rags into the beautiful gown she had worn at the palace.
Cinderella! It was you? I can't believe it! You're the mysterious princess?
How were we to know? Can you ever forgive us for being so mean to you? Sisters, of course I forgive you. In fact, I want you to come and live with me at the palace.
And so Cinderella married her prince, and true to her word, she found husbands for her two stepsisters, and they all lived happily ever after.